The point of this video is to answer 3 questions. Number 1, what is the HyperX Cloud Core? Number 2, what is the difference between the Cloud Core and the Cloud 2? And 3, what reason is there, if any, to buy the Cloud Core over the Cloud 2 or any other HyperX headset? So let's start with number 1. What is the HyperX Cloud Core? The simplest answer is this is a closed back headset from HyperX that is modeled after the original HyperX Cloud. Now there are apparently older, slightly different models of the Cloud Core, but I got this one in May of 2022. I bought this with my own money, shipped from and sold by Amazon. Here is what the box looks like. So in case you do order one, just make sure it looks like this box. Otherwise, well, I can't really confirm if it is exactly the device that I have, but this is the one that I got. And I bring that up because I've seen a lot of complaints in reviews that their unit didn't come with this, the USB sound card. This is actually a very similar one to the Cloud 2. I'll talk about this in a minute, but this one did come with mine. So that's the one I'm going to be reviewing. And now for the second question, what is the difference between the Cloud Core and the Cloud 2? I feel like this is really HyperX's main headset, one of the most popular headsets to ever come out, constantly on the top of bestseller lists. So it makes sense to compare it to the Cloud Core, of course. So it's actually easier to talk about the differences by getting into the similarities first. So as you can see from the boxes, these are both made for PC and PS4. You can use them on newer consoles also, like the PS5 and the Nintendo Switch. But just know that on Xbox, these are only going to work with the 3.5mm connection. You're not going to be able to use that USB sound card. There are a lot of restrictions on Xbox when it comes to USB headsets. Now the Cloud Core and Cloud 2 have the same basic design. The 3.5mm cable on both is non-detachable and they're the same length. The cables themselves are about 42 inches. I measured them, just the 3.5 by itself, if you don't include this dongle. But with this USB sound card, then you add all this length, it gets up to about, let me see right here, 127 inches. I measured it, which is really too long for my use case. But I guess if you're playing on console on a sofa, then that'll be perfect. Now, even though the cable is non-detachable, the mic actually is detachable on both of these devices. Here's the Cloud Core, taking the mic off and taking the mic off the Cloud 2. Both have these aluminum frames, very solid builds on them, and they have fake leather ear cushions inside. If you have a keen eye, you'll notice these are not actually fake leather inside the Cloud 2 because, well, I'll get into that in a second. But by default, it has fake leather ear cushions. Now the drivers on both of these are the same. I went back and forth between these for a few days, multiple sessions. I honestly kept forgetting which one I had on my head because I couldn't tell the difference between the sound. There may be a difference, but they sounded identical to me. Both headsets come with this USB sound card, which gives you a few controls like increasing the mic volume, the headphone volume, which will increase or decrease the system volume when you're on PC. There's also a mic mute switch, which is on the side, and you get a little clip for your shirt on the back. I don't really like using this. It's not that comfortable, and it just, overall, I think this thing is really kind of clunky. But performance-wise, they were the same for me. The only actual difference I noticed at all was on the back. One of them has this 10 right here. You might not even be able to see it because of the light. And then this one doesn't. This is one that's with the Cloud Core. But these are both recognized in Windows as the same thing. I think it's called like HyperX Virtual Surround something. Now the 7.1 Virtual Surround Sound button is basically just a few audio filters stacked together. It adds some echo, and sounds that are supposed to be localized to one ear cup will actually play in both. But the side that it was originally supposed to play in, it's going to be louder there and then quieter in the other. So if you hear footsteps in the left, you'll actually hear them a little bit in the right, but they'll be quieter. The bass gets dropped in the highs and the upper mids get boosted quite a bit. Honestly, it really destroys music because some songs are really cool when they have some sounds. There's a song from Phoenix Wright, Apollo Justice, the trial, pre-trial music, where you have like do 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 from one side, and then the other side's doing its own thing, and then they're like just, it kills that whole thing because they're playing in both ear cups now. And if you've watched multiple of my videos, you know that I've really just been kind of beating the dead horse of surround sound and how much I hate it and how stupid it is. At least fake virtual surround sound that's in headsets, because there's only 2 drivers here. I'm going to make an entire separate video on this, but I always get comments on it. Oh, it's the surround sound. It sucks. It always sucks because it's not real surround sound. Okay, so what's actually different about these devices then? Well, first of all, the Cloud 2 comes with more in the box. In addition to the headset itself and the sound card, it comes with a carrying bag and replacement ear cushions. These are velour and they're really soft. That's what you see on here right now. I replaced these ear cushions. Love the feel of them. I probably won't change them back just because it's such a hassle to take them off. And I'm not gonna lie, it really did take me like 5 minutes plus to get these on right. I just don't like the way that the ear cushions come off of these like kind of old school headsets where you kind of gotta peel them off and try to stuff them in when you replace the new one. I love how the Astro A40, you can just kind of clip that off, clip it back on, magnetic, super fast, like a second. This takes like a long time. And once you take them off the first time, they're always more susceptible to being loose or falling off. I just don't really like replacing the ear cushions, but I did it for this review. And they are really soft, so if you're into velour, this is tight. Now, secondly, there are slight differences in the build with the Cloud 2 and the Cloud Core. So first, if you look at the headband of the Cloud 2, you see this like stitching on the top. The Cloud Core does not have that same stitching as the Cloud 2. And it's a little hard to see the real length on camera, but the Cloud Core right here, this has a shorter headband than the Cloud 2. So even though the adjustment brackets on both, they have the same number of notches and get to the same length, because the headband is a different size, it means that the Cloud Core is going to be a tighter fit. So with the Cloud 2, I can have this kind of loose. I've got my beanie on, nice and snug, but it's still kind of loose at the same time. Not a lot of clamping force. The Cloud Core, when it's at its maximum stretch and I got this beanie on, it's a lot tighter to my head. The clamping force isn't super strong, but it just doesn't have enough give. So, but if you have a lot of hair that goes vertically, or you have a beanie or something like that, any sort of hat, then out the gate already, I'm thinking get the Cloud 2 over the Cloud Core just so you don't have to deal with that with the smaller headband. Now the padding on the ear cups, they're both made of this fake leather and they have some memory foam, same with on the headband. This is the Cloud Core, but the ear cushions that come with the Cloud 2, let me go ahead and get this bag that it comes with actually. These ear cushions, they just have a little bit more give. They just don't hold their shape quite as much, which makes them more comfortable and softer just by a little bit. Like I said, I was switching back and forth between the devices. For one session, it was like about 6 hours, and I kept forgetting the difference. Really, I noticed it on the headband way more than the ear cushions themselves. I give this an S as far as comfort, the Cloud 2, and then I'd give this, the Cloud Core, an A+. Super comfortable. These are top notch when it comes to comfort. Do give the edge to the Cloud 2 though.
This is a microphone test with the HyperX Cloud Core, and it's plugged into the USB sound card. This one's slightly different than the Cloud 2. This one does not light up red, at least it isn't lit up right now. Anyway, this is the HyperX Cloud Core. HyperX Cloud Core keyboard typing test, just testing the background noise rejection on this device. This is the HyperX Cloud Core. Alright, this is a microphone test with the HyperX Cloud 2, and this is what it sounds like using the USB sound card that comes in the box. HyperX Cloud 2. Keyboard typing and background noise rejection test with the HyperX Cloud 2. This is what this device sounds like. HyperX Cloud 2. Now the microphones sound completely identical in my testing. They're both kind of muffled, not really that clear. That's kind of just the par for the course for headset mics. But in particular, these kind of have issues because of the virtual surround sound card that it comes with. This just adds a little bit of compression. I feel like that's what's causing the issue. I've tested in other videos, if you use a splitter, it actually sounds better. To this day, the only headset that I've heard that really has a decent usable mic is the Corsair HS80. I still don't have one, kind of been ducking that device. I don't know how popular it'll be if I make a video on it, but that one actually has a pretty good mic. Anyway, this is the maximum volume that this gets to. I set it to max in Windows settings, so you might have to boost this in some other program if you want it to be louder. For this segment, I'm probably going to boost it in post and put it on the screen how much I boost it to. Now, I guess I should do a quick rundown of how the Cloud Core sounds, even though I have talked about the sound of the Cloud 2 in maybe like 10 different videos, and this is going to be the same.
The Cloud Core gets much louder than the average gaming headset. The upper mids and treble are boosted. The bass is weak, but it's still stronger and better than most mid-range to low-end devices out. The clarity and detail is good for the price. It's a bit worse than the Sony MDR7506, for example. I know that headset or those headphones get thrown around quite a bit. I don't find these as good as the PC38X just for general use, but for FPS games specifically, I think the tuning out the box of the Cloud Core is probably more suited to FPS games than that device. Just because that device is a lot more neutral and the bass is pretty good and pretty strong in it. It's not crazy, but it doesn't have that spike in the upper mids, that spike in the highs that'll make it so that footsteps are kind of like standing out from a lot of the explosions and stuff. And that's what this does. I think the Cloud Core is more than enough for competitive gaming, even at the highest levels. I mean, to be honest, even some of the top Twitch streamers that I watch that are playing Warzone, they're using the Cloud 2 or the Cloud Alpha. And this is going to sound just like those. But for casual use, my taste for sound signature, I think it takes a lot of EQ to make it sound the way I want. I got to get some more body, some more bass, and drop the highs and the upper mids down quite a bit to get a really decent experience for me. But I've seen these for extremely cheap, $35. There is nothing on the market that gets anywhere close to the sound of this for 35 bucks, at least not that I've seen. So of course, prices are going to be subject to fluctuate, but for wow, the price, $35 for something that sounds as good as this. As for my verdict, I recommend the Cloud Core if you're interested in the Cloud 2, but you're on a really tight budget. If you can find this thing for under $50, this is an absolute steal. But if you have a larger head or you're going to be wearing a hat or a beanie or something like that, do be very wary because this doesn't quite get that long. This is the maximum fit and this is like barely fitting for me. So just be aware of that, and you're not going to get these secondary ear cushions and you're not going to get that bag. But really, this is like getting the Cloud 2 with a very similar comfort level, the same sound, in a more budget package. A link to the Cloud Core and the Cloud 2 are below.